The chapel was silent. Too silent. Rows of empty pews stared back at me, like hollow reminders that I wasn't worth showing up for. Not my parents. Not my maid of honor. Not even my brother Daniel. The one who once swore he'd walk me down the aisle if Dad couldn't. Only a handful of soldiers I served with sat quietly, their uniforms pressed, their faces respectful. Strangers cared more for me that day than the people who raised me. I stood there in my wedding dress, the fabric heavy, suffocating. My hands trembled as I held my bouquet. And then my phone buzzed. Text. From my mother. We need to talk. Now. Followed by 21 missed calls. I laughed, a broken, hollow laugh, and raised my champagne glass anyway. I forced a smile, the rim trembling against my lips. That was the moment something inside me snapped. Family. That word used to mean safety, love, belonging. But in my house it meant Daniel. Daniel, the golden child. The football star. The one my parents worshipped like he could do no wrong. And me. I was Lily. Quiet one. The background shadow. The daughter who worked hard, kept her head down, and enlisted in the army not because they wanted me to, but because I needed to be seen. But no matter what I achieved, medals, ranks, scars that told stories, I was still just the other child. Still, I believed my wedding day would change that. I thought surely they'd show up. That they'd finally look at me and see more than Daniel's sister. I was wrong. It wasn't an accident. It wasn't a scheduling conflict. They chose not to come. My so-called maid of honor, my cousin Emily, sent me a photo that night. A photo that burned itself into my memory. There they were. My entire family. My parents, Daniel, Emily, relatives I hadn't seen in years. All dressed in shimmering gold and champagne colors, glasses raised high, celebrating Daniel's engagement party, while I stood alone in white. That wasn't neglect. That wasn't forgetfulness. That was betrayal. And then came my mother's text. We need to talk. I knew exactly what that meant. Translation. We need you to understand that Daniel will always come first. I didn't cry. I didn't scream. I didn't beg. Plan. The army teaches you discipline, patience, how to take the fire in your chest and sharpen it into something precise. My family thought my silence meant weakness. But silence is not surrender. Strategy. And if they wanted to erase me, I would make sure the world remembered me. And forgot them. Months before the wedding, I quietly added my name to the deed of my parents' prized lake house. They signed the papers without reading, trusting their obedient daughter. Quiet power always works best. My father's company thrived on military contracts. And guess who noticed every under-the-table deal, every shady bribe, every forged signature? Me. A soldier knows how to pay attention. Had the files. I had the proof. Because revenge without timing is just anger. But with timing, it becomes justice. So I waited. The night after Daniel's glittering engagement party, my mother finally got me on the phone. Her voice was calm. Practice. Sweetheart, we couldn't miss your brother's big moment. You understand, don't you? Sweetheart. That word made my hand tighten around the phone until my knuckles turned white. I let her talk. I let her justify. I let her twist the knife. Then, when she paused to breathe, I finally spoke. You forgot to congratulate me, Mom. But don't worry. You'll remember me soon. The silence that followed was delicious. The kind that tastes like fear. 2 days later, I sold the lake house. Not to a stranger, but to Daniel's ex-girlfriend. The one my family despised. The one they swore they'd never let back into their lives. I gave her a generous discount. A week later, anonymous envelopes landed on the desk of the Department of Defense. Inside, every shady contract, every forged deal, every bribe my father thought no one noticed. Within a month, his company was under investigation. And when Daniel called me in a panic because the engagement photos had leaked online alongside headlines about his father's corruption, I simply said, I raised my glass alone. Now you can too. The calls didn't stop. The messages poured in. Please. Excuses. Explanations. But I had already blocked them all. Because family doesn't forget you on your wedding day. Family doesn't erase you while smiling for cameras. I gave them what they gave me. Absence. And as I look back now, I don't feel regret. Only clarity. They taught me that blood doesn't equal loyalty. That silence cuts deeper than screams. And when my mother's final message slipped through before the block, "Why are you doing this?" I finally allowed myself to laugh. Because the truth was simple. I didn't destroy my family. They destroyed themselves.